Scott. Welcome back. We've got Real Water Sports and Colby Plus with us today.
Heck yes. Real water sports, Colby Plus. What's not to like? Look, my Colby Plus wetsuit, it's, we use the word buttery, and it's because it's fitting. And not only that, the Colby Plus wetsuits fit great, and they're buttery. So I don't have anything but wonderful things to say about my friend Rob Colby and the incredible product that he and his staff put out.
Olive oily.
Wow, thank you.
Olive oily.
That's really good. I'm such a fan of olive oil too, more so than butter.
Me too, but it doesn't roll off the tongue the way that butter does when you're describing a wetsuit.
That's true.
It's equal lubricant. It rolls off the tongue physically, but not metaphorically.
Well, the thing is, when you put the suit on, you like slip in as if your body's coated with olive oil.
Exactly. So I went to colbyplus.com to check out the Green Wave wetsuit, and I saw a product review from our longtime listener and a guy who's actually going to be on our Chicama trip this year. So I was like, no way. Maybe he got these for Chicama. But he said about the Greenleaf 3.2 and the 3D booties. Had my first session in my 3.2 Greenleaf here on the North Oregon coast. Water temp was about 56. It was a 2-hour session. So frickin' warm. Full stop. In addition, by far the lightest and most flexible wetsuit I've ever worn, and I've been in and out of the water since the late 70s. Worth every penny. I'm going to order a 4.3 and a 4.3 hood as soon as they're in stock in my size. Secondly, the Colby Plus 3D printed booties were a game changer, and I hate booties. I like the feel of wax on my feet generally. I also had a bilateral hip replacement, which compromised my pop-up probably for the rest of my life. So with thicker sole booties or split toe booties, my big toe would often drag, catch on the wax, and I would, trying to get up to my feet, I would get stuck. So frustrating. The combo of the better fitting booties and me working on my fitness, I'm now able to get to my feet almost every time without impediment. The Green Wave and the 3D boots are the best wetsuit products I have ever encountered. Thank you, Rob, and the Colby team. John Naimo from the North Oregon via Huntington Beach.
Cool. And, look, Real Water Sports, the thing about your guys' trip to Chicama is that the Real Water Sports team has great video footage and insight into sort of the ideal board to ride there, the wetsuits and stuff, the sort of the hard goods to bring along, but also great insight into the wave itself. And I would highly recommend everyone check out the good work that their filmers and their staff does on the Real Water Sports YouTube channel.
Yeah, they do they've done a couple of trips there as well and documented all of it. So yeah, those videos are really helpful for giving you a full overview and understanding of the wave itself. So yeah, Real Water Sports, not just for, retail resource, but also educational and information with their YouTube series. So realwatersports.com, and Colby is spelled Colby, so colbyplus.com for wetsuits and accessories as well.
As we see some movement at the takeoff zone, it's Kelly Slater grabbing right.
Yeah, guy, David. It is Monday. It's August. Holy mackerel. August 3rd. It's going to be Christmas soon. I think the Christmas shopping stuff is already out. Like, it gets put out before the back to school stuff. Now, your son must be going to school soon. How old is your son these days?
He'll be turning 5 in October, so he's 4.
Wow. So you're right in how expensive is childcare? Holy shit.
Less than a mortgage, I'll give you that.
That's still expensive. That's like $30,000 a year for childcare.
It's not cheap. Yeah, he's been in school. He's been in like a voluntary pre-kindergarten situation for a while, so he's learning as he goes. But
wow, he's a smart kid. I've seen him in action. I know this kid's got what it takes.
Thanks. We were just talking about Chicama a minute ago. Guess what I got?
A new board, a new wetsuit, new booties.
Also, in addition to those things, our buddy Alex Hemingway just sent me the 2025 Chicama trip video.
That's unreal.
Yeah, I've got it here. Let me see if I can do it with. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I want to at least play the opening segment that kind of describes the trip and gives people an overview. So I think this will work whether you're watching this show on YouTube or just listening to the audio, because there is dialogue here. You ready? Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, what are we doing here? Surfing Chicama. This is the 2025 Surf Splendor trip to Chicama.
What we've done is we've gathered 25 or 30 like-minded surfers that want to surf a perfect bucket list left. It's some of the longest rides we've all ever gotten in our lives. We've gathered all together here at the Chicama Boutique Hotel to ride these waves and to celebrate this lifestyle.
This one is Peru. The surf spot's Chicama. It's regarded as the world's longest left.
Being a goofy footer, I feel like I'm home.
It's beautiful. It really is the longest left I've ever seen. It's a beauty to behold. You can be kind of almost any level of surfer and put yourself in the right position in the lineup, and you can get the wave of your life.
Nothing that I could imagine I'd want to do more than surf a 2 mile long left point in Peru and have a group of just really great people here that I've loved surfing with. Just, everybody feels like a longtime friend right from the start.
There's a real sense of community and connectivity, connectedness that we all share as surfers. Our love of the ocean, the experience of riding a wave is just incredible, and we share that.
I love it. It's beautiful. The landscape's insane. It's like being on the moon.
So I always thought I went on these surf trips to get away from reality, and I've realized I think I come here to get reality.
It's our boy Keith in Rhode Island.
That might be the quote of the video right there. Keith kind of nailed it. That was a mic drop. My stuff sounded a little bit trite, but his stuff sounded like it came from the heart.
I thought yours was a perfect opener as well. But no, I think that was a great closer for the opening segment from Keith too. So that video, that's just the first kind of minute or two, but it's a 10-minute video, and I'll put the whole thing on our YouTube channel. So anybody who wants to watch it in its entirety within the next 24 hours can go to YouTube. Check it out.
Unreal. Well, you guys are going to have a good time, and I got to say, this is the first time that I've got a little jealous.
Well, especially watching that, right?
Yeah.
By
the way, those guys were all good surfers. Like when we went, I was like, that guy was a good surfer. That guy was a good surfer. They were all really good surfers.
Well, we arrived on the trip. I forget which day it was, and the waves were pretty small. And the next day, I think I surfed the next day, but I was starting to get sick, and then I was kind of out of commission for multiple days. So I really feel like I missed a bit of the trip. While I was there, I felt like I was still engaged, but watching the video back, I was like, man, I almost enjoyed the video more than I enjoyed being on the trip itself, because I was just down. And it made me hyped, of course, to go back and do it again. But the video, I thought, represented the experience really, really beautifully. And, of course, the camaraderie that we always talk about that comes from these trips.
Yeah, that sense of connection that I sort of that I spoke about. But it's true, it's a little bit corny, but it's true. It's wonderful to spend time with and to meet new people. And you guys are going to have a good time. I will say this, that there was a whole group of Kiwis on my trip that I just got back from. And they speak glowingly about the special guest that's going to be with you guys.
Yeah, Luke Cederman, of course, is coming. Raglan Surf Report. So I think it's going to be an epic trip. There are some people that are returning. I think there's 4 maybe people who have been on previous trips that are coming back on this one, but then a bunch of new people too. So the trip is sold out. So this isn't a sales pitch to join, but we will do these twice a year. I think moving forward, we've done it twice a year these last 2 years, and I think we could probably sell out 4 trips a year. I just don't know that we could be away from home that much.
Yeah.
But Waterways Travel, of course, is the one that makes all of this happen for us, because really Scott and I don't do much lifting. We do the lightest lifting out of anybody, and Waterways is organizing all of this and making it happen. So if you want to come on our trips, waterways is how you do it, but also for your own surf travel, waterways travel is the best.
Yeah, no, I can't say enough great things about Chris and Brian at Waterways. Talk about, making life easy for you. There's a lot you got to deal with, what boards to bring, what suits, so forth and so on. They take the travel part of the issue out of the equation, and it's really helpful.
They help with flights if you want it too. And Chris just emailed me a couple of days ago. He's like, dude, one of your connections just got shuffled to the next morning. Do you want to stay a day later? Do you want to go a day earlier? Like helping me sort it all out. So he sends me a list of 4 options and I'm like, that option suits me best.
That's what I'm talking about. They're like concierge.
They are. Yeah. So really, I think everybody wants to hear about your Indo trip recap. Obviously the show's been on hiatus for 2 weeks. We were hoping to record while you were gone, but it's just the time difference doesn't make sense. So we haven't heard from you since prior to your Indo trip. How was it?
So it was everything that an Indo trip is supposed to be, good waves, tube rides, warm water, wonderful food, wonderful fellowship and friendships made. And I've been going to this one place for 3 years, so I know everyone there. It's really cool to see everybody again. And it was, it was good. We got good waves, and the back half of the trip, sort of, the swell didn't really, cooperate. But it's an interesting year in Indonesia. I'll say this, that the El Nino, there's this sense that what the El Nino produces in the Indian Ocean is a lot of high pressure, which keeps the low pressures from moving up into the Indian Ocean towards, Diego Garcia and the Maldives and so forth, which is kind of ideal for spinning up good swells for the Mentawais and that region up in E.A.S.T where I was. And that's certainly the case. Like, it makes it so that the Southern Ocean storms move horizontally across the lower latitudes, which isn't ideal. And everything that I heard from people out there is that it hasn't been, the greatest sort of Indo season, so to speak. And I think that that's the case. And what that tells me is that as soon as El Nino turns off and we either go neutral or La Nina, that's the time to go back to Indo. And it could be as soon as next season. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, that's in Southern California. El Nino's in the news almost every year, whether it's an El Nino or not. But it's because it's in the Pacific. But it's worth noting, it has global effects. The storms take place in the Pacific and affect coastal Pacific with extra rainfall and stuff like that, but it does have global effects.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into a deep dive on what it's all about, I suggest going to Storm Surf's YouTube channel, and Mark Sponsor there breaks it all down. But in a nutshell, I'll just say that there's this thing called the Madden-Julian oscillation. When we've got positive MJO, that's good for us here. We're Northern Hemisphere. And that means that on the other side of the Earth, it's negative Madden-Julian oscillation, which is what is happening in that Indo-Asia region.
Got it.
I probably butchered that. Better to go to Storm Surf.
Well, so I think the first story we want to hear from Indonesia is about that elbow. You posted a gruesome image on your Instagram account. I'm surprised they didn't flag you for that.
I know.
Oh, look at you. I thought you'd be like wrapped up in a cast or something.
No, it's healing up nice. I'm on antibiotics. I'm out of the water. And it's healing up. The good news is it happened on my very last session of my trip, and I will say that sort of naively or ignorantly or stupidly, we paddled out into super small waves over shallow reef. So, this was barely breaking, like 1 to 2 feet. And frankly, I just rode a wave too far in, and then a little set came in. I was dry. I was literally dry, like on my board dry, and a wave tumbled me onto the reef, and I hit my elbow. And so, but yeah, I'm healing up fine. And luckily, that I got bandaged up by there were some paramedics from Santa Cruz there that were really helpful and bandaged me up and got me on my way.
So it wasn't even a wipeout.
No, I had, I did I did too many cutbacks. I cut back over dry reef and was like, uh-oh, and then just had to like jump off and flatten out. And at that point I was fine. But when I got my board and dry docked and then got tossed.
Brutal, dude.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's it. Don't surf small waves over shallow reef. As you know, David, when the waves are big, they break far enough out. There's enough water over the reef that when you do fall, you're probably going to touch the reef, but it's not super bad. I do have another little bang on my backside so my very first session in small waves, I got dinged. My very last session in small waves, I got dinged, and don't do it.
good lesson. Good lesson to be learned. Sorry to hear it though. So, how bad you don't need stitches or anything?
I probably could have used 1 or 2 stitches, but it was like, do we call in the doctor from the local village? And the answer is no, we don't. We just bandage it up and bring it home and let it heal. And I visited the doctor. Everything's going good. I'm on antibiotics and everything's fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah. No drama.
How was the travel home with that injury?
It was okay. I had a really good travel experience, actually.
Okay, good. Okay, so back to the waves themselves. Which boards did you end up bringing?
So I brought the 6'6" Christensen, which I broke. There was solid, 6 to 8 foot swell when I first got, like the days 4 and 5 were solidly what you go there for. And I got some good tubes and broke that board. And I rode, then I had my rusty Twinser at 6'4", which I love. That board worked really good.
The Griffin.
The Griffin Twinser, yeah. And then when the waves got small, I rode my Von Sol little fishy thing that I have.
Okay. Give me the story.
I'll tell you that I also, oh God, I just hit my elbow and it hurts. Oh, mommy. I also had the guys at CI. I bought a 6'6" Happy Step Up. What's it called? I think it's called
Happy Traveler.
The Happy Traveler. Yes, that board is sick, man. And so if you're going if you're going wherever you're going, mainland Mexico, wherever, Costa Rica, I don't know where you're going, but if you're listening out there, the Happy Traveler Step Up 6, any of them actually. I got the 6'6". If you want a 3-fin, which you do in good waves, I'm a huge fan of that board.
So you got that to replace the Christensen?
Yes.
How did the Christensen? What were the circumstances of it breaking? Was it on a wave, or duck diving?
The waves were pumping. I was getting tube after tube. It was ridiculous, and I took off. What's interesting? I'll tell you. This is the honest truth: is that it wasn't my turn to go.
Ooh.
But I was out there with some guys that were just kind of like, it was their turn, but they were not going. You know what I mean? So, and I was pretty deep, and I took off, and I was too deep, and the tube was running past me. So I did one of those like Sean Thompson pull out the back thing, where you kind of dive through the back, but the board didn't make it. The board went with the wave in over the reef. So then I'm lying back and my leash is pulling on my leg and snapped.
Got it.
Just taking off on a closeout and kicking out the back.
Bummer.
But I remember internally saying, you know what? It wasn't my turn. This feels real karmic. This feels like it was an instant conviction of my spirit. And I paddled back out on the rusty Twinser. And the guy's like, what happened? I'm like, you know what? It was your turn. It wasn't my turn. I shouldn't have went. And of course he's like, no, you were fine. But, which probably I was. But internally, I remember thinking, I was in that real frothy mode that sometimes we get in, where I was just frothing and going and getting sick ones. And it was just like nonstop and too much froth.
Not to speak for you, but the way I'm interpreting what you're saying is those guys were a little tentative, and if you turn the froth levels on and you put pressure on, they will back out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. That's a great
So it's like if you would have gone into play nice mode, they might realize it's their turn and feel convicted to go because they know it's their turn. But if you just give them a little bit of pressure, they'll back off. So putting the pressure on is the move.
Yeah, and I would say that's totally true. And the pressure was like almost subdued, like subconscious pressure. It wasn't like I was hassling or anything. And the other thing to know is that there's a massive rip there. So it pulls you out of position all the time. There's like a keyhole between the reef and the water sucks you out. And so you're constantly moving. And those guys would just sit and let the rip take them. So they're totally out of position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, look, let's at least be in position. So when it is my turn, I'll be ready. So I paddled up there, and sure enough, a set comes and I'm in position. And,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, last year when you went, you got, what you said was as good of a wave as you're going to get at this age, and maybe the best good or the last good wave that you're going to get in your life. And so you're happy just kind of hanging it up on last year's experience.
Yeah.
Did you get better waves this year? And were you fully fit and prepared to handle what it presented?
Yeah, I was fully fit and prepared, but I did not get better waves than that was actually 2 years ago.
Oh.
But yeah. So, but I also went in with expectations that I wasn't going to get that type of surf again, because I saw the forecast and you know, it was going to be hard to beat the 2024 session. And, but I got plenty of fun waves and met really great people, and all those guys were really fun to hang out with and to meet. And, yeah, it was good, but it wasn't like, you know, all time the best I've ever gotten.
Well, good for you though, for being in shape and ready to take it on. Will you be able to do it again in the future, or is this one that you're going to hang it up on?
Yeah, I mean, I said I was going to hang it up last time. No more Indo trips, but I'm almost hesitant to say that. This trip really happened on a whim. I got a call from a friend who's like, "Let's go," and I was like, "Oh, maybe that's a God shot. Maybe I'm supposed to go. Maybe I'm supposed to fellowship with this guy and hang out." And you know, but it was, in hindsight, it was probably kind of selfish.
Gotcha.
Which is the nature of the beast, which we're trying to push that away. By the way, I got a couple of good books for you.
Okay.
One of them is Theo of Golden, which you'll probably see at the airport on the book rack there. Theo of Golden. A great story about just goodness in humanity, which is sort of needed. And then there's a book called Whistler that I read for our book club, which is a great book about family dynamics. And both these books are super fun and easy to read, like page turners. And then I saw a movie last night, which I bet you've seen. It's a documentary, and it's called Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat. Are you familiar with this?
I haven't seen it, no.
Okay, it's kind of an artsy film, but once you get into it, it's pretty damn good. And it's basically about the CIA and jazz musicians, Louis Armstrong, Dizzy Gillespie, and Africa and the Cold War and Russia and the nation state of Congo, which has just been created. And it's a long movie and there's a lot to it, but I learned a heck of a lot and highly recommend it.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I've got a book that's actually coming out this month that listeners and surfers might be interested in, and it's Steve Hawk's first novel.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Near Shore. All right.
Near Shore. I think it comes out on the 18th. I'm going to be interviewing Steve about it, but for anybody who's interested, Steve Hawk, obviously, editor of Surfer Magazine back in the day, Tony Hawk's brother.
Steve Hawk hired me. Without Steve Hawk, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you right now.
Unbelievable. How did that interview go? No.
You don't know that? I've told you that story before.
I forget a lot. Okay, we talk a lot.
Okay, so I was surfing by myself at Salsopuedes. It was actually the El Nino year of 97, 98. And I was down there by myself surfing. Salsopuedes was super high tide, so it wasn't breaking. And Salsopuedes only breaks on low tide. But I was there, and I was by myself, and occasionally sets would come in, and I was getting waves. And then I look up on the cliff, and there's like 5 guys looking down on it. You know, I'm like, ah, shit, it's over. You know, there's not enough waves for 5 guys. And sure enough, a bunch of guys start stumbling down the cliff, and it's Steve Hawk and I think Evan Slater and a couple of pro guys they had brought there for Surfer Magazine. Rob, what was Rob's name? One of the photographers for
Gilly
No, not Gilly. The other
Brown.
one. No. Anyway, they come out and the photographer sets up and they start and he's swimming and shooting photos and eventually I go in and take a little break to eat some food out of my little backpack and there's this guy on the cliff there and was suiting up or finished surfing and we started talking and I was like, yeah, it's fun, blah, blah, blah. We just started rapping. And then I saw his name on his board. It said Steve Hawk. I'm like, oh, are you Steve Hawk? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm a student at the local college and I need an internship, and he's like, oh, well, you should come see me. Here's my assistant's name. And she gave me, and sure enough, I followed up, and he's like, come on in, you're hired, like Evan and Steve Steve was leaving the magazine right about then. And Evan and Steve hired me as an intern. And then the rest is history.
Based on your surfing prowess that day? That's why
No, just I think more based on when they paddled out, I was, I was like, cool. This is cool. Like
I could work with this guy.
Yeah.
Congrats. That's cool. I do remember that story now that you tell it. That's how it works with me whenever you say, haven't I told you this story? And I'm like, no. And as soon as you start telling it, I'm like, no, I remember.
Yeah. It's not a great story. I don't blame you.
Also, listeners come and go. So it's always worth retelling.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Steve Hawk is an incredibly intelligent guy.
Yeah.
Frankly, probably almost Surfer Magazine was below his pay grade. He was just such a great writer. And, just kind of like all of those guys were so much smarter than I was. And I'm not trying to self-deprecate. I'm just saying it's the truth. Like, that I learned a lot later on, especially when I reflect back. When I was there, I don't know if I was taking it all in, but when I reflect back on it, I was like, wow, those guys, they just saw the bigger picture, and I was pretty myopic. Like, my first thing was like, how long does it take to get to Lowers on lunch break? You know what I mean? And they're like thinking big picture,
That's what I've enjoyed about the time that I've been doing the podcast is when I was young, I thought all surfers were like Spicoli and dumb. And like, that's kind of what the magazines were even promoting. And that's what the videos were definitely promoting is just like ne'er-do-well, getting effed up and like getting high and then skate ramp, surfing and just screwing around. And so I almost, once I kind of got to know people in the industry and started interviewing people and stuff, I was like, wow, there's actually incredibly thoughtful, cultured, intelligent, critical thinkers in the space that I just did not know existed before, or for whatever the media that was limitations of the media that was being generated before, it just didn't allow maybe to unpack some of those people's thoughts. And so I've really enjoyed getting to know those people.
It's fascinating the way you frame that, because when you think about it, you pull out like 30,000 feet, what that tells us, you and me, about what, the stories we just told, is that we have these like very, narrow understanding of what's going on in the world. And the more we peel off, the more we're like, oh, wow. And so that, concept, and one that you're speaking of, can be adapted to everything. Maybe it is, I think the smartest thing that I need to say is, I don't know. I just don't know. And I'm willing to learn, and it's about time because I'm 61.
61, still getting shacked in Indonesia. So you're doing something right.
Well, but am I, like, really, is that what it's all about? I question that, quite frankly. Like, maybe that's not what it's all about. That's my point.
Well, that's not what it's all about. I mean, all is the operative word there. But I think that there's, don't undersell the virtues of it either. Like, if your whole life is centered around that, you're wrong. But going back to Keith's quote from the Peru video, you need to do self-care, and like going and tapping into that thing allows you to kind of reconnect with nature and its rhythms and all that sort of thing. And then you come back to your responsibilities in life and perform. You're a better husband, better father, better everything else.
Yeah, I mean, going to Indonesia is so much different culturally than just like going to Mexico or even going to Peru or wherever. I mean, these are all great things, but quite a culture shock and just a whole different trip than a South American or North American experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Everywhere in the world is equally as unique.
It is. It is. I
Yeah,
guess
we're just more familiarized
yeah.
with the West, is what it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good,
Well,
man. Congrats on a great trip.
yeah, thanks. And I'm looking forward to hearing, when do you guys go again? I know you mentioned it, but
The 22nd. I think the 21st is when I leave. So 3 weeks.
are you are you already scouring the forecast?
No, not at all.
Good for you. Good for you.
I honestly don't care at all. Like, I'm equipped for if it's small or larger, and it'll be fine
Yeah.
either way.
Yeah. Well, good. We'll talk about your quiver choice later when we
I
get
think
closer.
next week maybe.
I have a Who Said That or a Surfer X if you're interested before we move in. We could bury the lead here, which I guess we already did. So let's just continue to bury it.
Sounds good to me.
Surfer X, David, this is that portion of the show where I give you a quote and you determine either who said that or who Surfer X is. So in this case, you're going to determine who Surfer X is.
I'm ready.
Surfer X's hands were magic. His planer was a wand. Yes, he was an egoist of the first order, capable of not only referring himself in the third person, but as this great man. Then again, like the old saying goes, it ain't bragging if you can back it up. In 1984, Surfer X's business imploded swiftly and brutally. Poor business decisions, shady manager, bankruptcy. At the very height of his influence and popularity, Surfer X had to sell everything, house and car included, to pay off debts and keep the company intact. Probably the experience warped him to some degree, understandably. It certainly nursed the conspiracy theorist within. Anyway, 10 years after the crash, Surfer X was back on his feet, no longer a surf world conqueror, but still mowing foam with the best of them, and filled to the brim with pride and, yes, self-importance about his place in the board maker's pantheon. David, who is Surfer X? Is it A, Dick Brewer, B, Maurice Cole, C, Jeff McCoy, or D, Barry Kanayapuni?
Wow. I mean, it almost sounds insulting the way that that's written, so I'm apprehensive to even name any of them.
That's funny because when I was reading it, I was like, "Oh man, this isn't from me. I'm taking this from the Encyclopedia of Surfing."
Yeah, that's kind of a harsh takedown. I'm narrowing it down to Cole or McCoy, and I'm going to go Maurice Cole.
Wrong, David. You're wrong. It's Jeff McCoy. You were close, my friend.
Okay.
Who has since passed. Jeff, I think last year he died, right? Something like that.
Yeah, that's right. I was down to those two, but I was like, you're hosting Maurice for the Boardroom show, so maybe this is a opportunity, or this is a way to point some attention at Maurice. That was how I landed there. But go ahead, McCoy.
Yeah, so Jeff McCoy, if you want, I can read a little bit more about him So creative, intense, cocksure Australian surfboard designer, shaper from the north coast of New South Wales, best known for his 1980 reverse teardrop laser zap design and for his professional association with top Aussie pro Shane Horan. McCoy was born in 1948 in Gosford, New South Wales, the son of a farmer, and began surfing at age 14 and shaping at 17. He made boards for Sydney's mainstay Bennett surfboards and Keo surfboards in the late 60s, was a co-founder of the short-lived M&M surfboards. In 1970, the blonde-haired shaping prodigy founded McCoy Surfboards in the Sydney suburb of Brookvale, and shortly thereafter became one of the first Australians to make twin-fin boards. McCoy team riders over the years included World Tour standouts Mark Warren, Larry Blair, Pam Burridge, and Damien Hardman. But his partnership with Horan, initiated in 1976, 3 years after McCoy moved his company to Avoca Beach just north of Sydney, brought both to their career peaks. The laser zap, generally known as the needle nose or no nose, was developed in part because McCoy, as he later said, always had this vision of surfboards looking like triangles. The strange, wide-backed craft, with its drastically reduced nose area, dropped the board's wide point well below center, creating a small wave board that pivoted effortlessly but was incapable of holding a sustained turn. The prodigiously talented Shane Rand nonetheless rode the Laser Zap to a second place finish on the World Tour in 1981 and again in 82. The pure no-nose design itself was nearly obsolete by 1982, but the tri-fin board, introduced in 1981 by fellow Australian shaper Simon Anderson, incorporated a narrow McCoy-style nose. McCoy surfboards had meanwhile become one of the surf world's hottest labels, with outlets in California, Hawaii, and Japan, but in 84 the company went bankrupt after a business associate vanished and left McCoy with debts totaling nearly $400,000. McCoy continued to shape it, never regained his place in the surfboard manufacturing hierarchy. This comes to us from Matt Warshaw's Encyclopedia of Surfing, History of Surfing, EOS.surf.
Good intel there. How do you feel? Have you ever ridden a board like that, by the way?
No, I was always sort of anti. I kind of came from more of a single fin, wide point forward sort of era. I mean, it's the same era, but I was kind of anti that whole. It had real Orange County vibes, and those of us down here in San Diego, we drew a line in the sand. We were sort of, I don't know, maybe we weren't as forward thinking as some of our Orange County friends, but we were sort of like black wetsuits, whiteboards, which we did not benefit from, I'm sure.
Drew a line in the sand at Trestles.
Yeah, I mean, we would go to Trestles for sure, but I don't think we went past Cottons.
That's the separation of the counties for those who are not local.
Yeah, lower Trestle is.
So how do you feel about that narcissistic personality type, the self-promoter?
I mean, it's, generally they're kind of a turn off. I think there's a place, I mean, there's something to be said for like, and we've talked about this before, like certain guys, they almost need it to kind of move in the direction that they're supposed to go. But generally speaking, from sort of, I'm just not, I am much more drawn towards the quiet, smart, intelligent, the confident, quiet guy and or gal that doesn't need to be talking it up, I'm trying to be driven by humility, and those people that have humility are fascinating to me. Welcome back.
Welcome back to the show. I agree with everything that you said. I generally, when I see somebody with a personality type that is self-promoting like that, it always rubs me the wrong way as well. And I don't want to necessarily like spend time with that person. But with the benefit of hindsight, I almost always see the value that not only that provided for them, but also what it provides for the culture or the sport writ large. Like if you're easily, like Stab Magazine just, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, they did an interview with Wesley Dantas, which is Wiggly Dantas' younger brother.
Yeah.
And because he finished runner-up at the Bolito event, I think runner-up to Cole Houshman. So they did an interview with him, and it was like all about him revamping his entire program in the last couple of years. Like he had a run through the juniors up until, let's say, 4 or 5 years ago, and then lost all of his sponsors and was just like down and out working a regular job and had to reinvent things. And his reinvention is all about self-belief. So like he changed his Instagram name to King Dantas, which says it all.
Is it that simple?
That's
all
simple.
You got to do is change your...
I mean, if you believe in it enough to actually do it, then I guess it might work. But I'm even reading the article, I was like, oh God, this guy, But you realize it's kind of like, in his position, in the way that he described it, nobody is giving you handouts. Nobody, even if you actually have talent, things are just too busy nowadays. There's too much white noise to break through. In order to break through, you have to say, look at me. Hey, everybody, look at me. Look at me again. I'm going to shove it in your face until you can't look away, basically. And so and that's the style of surfing that he's trying to implement as well. And it's kind of like, you know what? You got my attention. I was not paying attention to what Wesley Dantas was up to in 2026, and now I am.
That's interesting. I was thinking, when you see a prize fight and, they have the weigh-in day, sort of the day before the fight, and the two fighters are squaring off. And one of them's usually like, kind of like trying to create a situation, and the other guy's usually stoic. I'm always drawn towards the stoic one. Like, I'm like, that other guy's a jerk. You know, like, I'm not into jerks. Now, I'm not saying Wiggly. In fact, I think on some level, I view Wiggly Dantas, or his brother, it's his brother, Wesley, as a total underdog. And I'm all about the underdog, and it's unfortunate that he has to do that. I would also suggest that it's just more white noise. Like, you're just adding to the white noise.
Unless you have the talent to back it up. That's the thing. Because there's a million of those demure fighters that you're talking about who go out and lose the fight and you never hear from them again. But there's also a million of the, machismo guy who gets knocked out first round.
Yeah.
So you have to have the talent to kind of back it up to then hold your attention.
It's interesting, like, when you think of John, right? John's sort of the ultimate, just very sincere and authentic in his quiet stature, I guess you could say. And his surfing is incredible. And so that's where we all go, wow. And even Ethan Ewing's not like loud and brash, but he's like the guy that right now everyone's like, that's the guy. Yeah. And so his actions are speaking louder than his Instagram handle.
Yeah, completely. I guess this is a kind of a segue. We could transition into Gabriel Medina a little bit because it's worth noting big changes in his life. I think he's 4th on the rankings right now, but going into Tahiti, I would put money on him as kind of a favorite in Tahiti. But he just got married. Also announced that his now wife is actually pregnant, so he'll be welcoming a child into the world. And then I don't think he explicitly stated this, but he's alluded to the fact that he wants to focus on that side of his life in 2027. So he might so he might be taking some time off tour as well. So this could be, the last major title run for him this season, because who knows what life holds after that, but he's still in his prime right now, and he's in striking position going into a part of the season that actually bodes really well for him.
Wow, I love it. Gabe, there's so many good surfers these days on tour.
Well, he's got Tahiti ahead of him, Fiji, which of course he could win both those events. Trestles he could win. Then of course Paniche and Philippines. We have no idea what he could do at the Philippines. Surf Ranch, he's in the mix, and then Pipe, of course.
Surf Ranch is not happening.
You don't think so?
No. The State Department, like last week, put out a thing that basically said, be ready to leave at a moment's notice. And they listed all these nations. And of course, Abu Dhabi, is that a nation? We always, wherever that wave pool is, that nation state was on the list. It's like,
well, and I accidentally said Surf Ranch. It's not Surf Ranch. It's Kelly Slater's wave in Abu Dhabi, of course.
I mean, I can't, look, there's been no official statement from the WSL, but I can't imagine at this point they're going to move forward with that. It's just way too hot.
Yeah, and that's what the Philippines edition was to potentially have a failsafe if Abu Dhabi got canceled. So Philippines is happening. So Gabriel Medina shifting into a new phase of life. It'll be interesting if John Florence opts not to come back on tour. And, we have this situation where two surfers in their prime that could have been the ultimate rivals of a generation got better things to do than surf on tour, which is fine by me.
Yeah. We've had this discussion before. I won't, obviously, I think you want him on tour. I don't know.
No, I don't. I want them on.
You don't.
Well, I do. Look, I love good surfing, and I'm down with competitive surfing. I want to see the best surfers surfing against each other in the best waves. But if it means Gabriel Medina and John Florence go around the world and surf ultimately out of the course of, let's say, there's 11 or 12 events, and they only end up surfing excellent waves 20% of that time, it's not worth their time. It's not worth spending your prime years on tour to get 20% excellent waves. Whereas this lifestyle that John's leading now, he can get better waves.
Yeah. No, I get it. And, you know, we sort of talked about this earlier. Like, that's what we're trying to do, right? As surfers, is get the best waves you can get. You know?
Yeah. But I think it does create an issue that the WSL should constantly be trying to solve, which is, how do you get the best surfers in the world interested in competing on your tour? And right now they're not doing that. Money?
I think so. I mean, that's, I think when you really think about it, like John's probably making more money doing what he's doing.
Well, the reality is they have opportunities and channels now for revenue that professional surfers did not have before. And I don't know that the WSL can afford to offer them to come commit for 10 months out of the year on tour. You know, like Gabriel can replace that with social media deals, basically. So
well,
it's
kind
not
of like,
very enticing.
You're right. And when you think about the old model, when it was the ASP, and probably maybe even the first couple of years of the WSL, where the brands owned the events, you know, and you could see like Florence owning the Tahiti event the way Outer Known does, right? And all of a sudden, John just gets to do one event a year at Tahiti the way that Kelly gets to do the Outer Known thing at Tahiti. Like, you know,
well,
why isn't Florence stepping? Not that they should, but I mean, you see what I'm saying, right? Like the old model almost makes sense now at this point. Like, how do you get John on tour? Or you let his brand own an insane wave.
You buy his way in, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
So Kelly's done that. Obviously, he's got a wild card into the Tahiti event that's coming up in a week or 5 days. The other thing that would be an incentive for these guys to come back on tour is obviously the clout that comes with a world title. These guys already have 2 or 3 world titles, potentially a 4th this year. And then the other thing now is the Olympics, having a gold medal. So they will be able to earn more money off their Instagram endorsements if they have additional world titles and or Olympic medals. But there's other ways to qualify for the Olympics now than just the CT. So the CT also the WSL also does not hold that card as an incentive.
Yeah, Stab, I believe, right, just did a pretty good little write-up on something about this. I remember reading about the power of the Olympics, and an Olympic gold medal is just worth so much more than a world title as far as dollars.
And future earnings with endorsement deals and ambassador deals.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And so, I mean, you've got, you know, hungry nation states like Israel creating incredible avenues and channels like China so that their surfers can get the gold medal. And all of a sudden, I mean, there's going to be a gold medalist that we're like, unless you follow the ISA, you're like, who's that? I have no idea who that is.
Well, I could see that, especially if the waves are non-consequential. Like the U.S. Open that just ran, I could see a no-name person winning the U.S. Open in knee-high slop that you have to grovel through. And this, you know, the next Olympics, is it officially going to be held at Lowers? Did they already announce that?
I don't know if it's official, but that seems to be the vibe. Yeah.
I think it's going to be held at Lowers. So I could see somebody outside of the CT winning the Lowers event, for example.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, do you remember who won the last Olympics?
Was it Italo?
No.
Oh,
Kauli
no. Kauli Vost. It was
Kauli Vost. Yeah. Okay, so you didn't. That's interesting because I thought you were going to get that. Okay, and so Italo won the Japan one.
Yeah.
And those have been the only 2 Olympics.
So
right? And the women, do you know the women winners?
So Carissa would have won Japan, I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
Who won on the women's side?
Carolyn Marks.
Wow. Okay.
So my point is that, first of all, I thought you would know those, and because I know that if I asked you who won the 2024 world title, it would take you a while to figure it out. But we know the gold medalist, at least I did, which is surprising, you know. And oh, by the way, the entire world definitely knows relative to, do they even know who won last year's World WSL? You know, no, they don't. The ma and pa's that are watching the Olympics out there, the Joe Schmo from Iowa that's watching the Olympics. So the Olympics thing is huge, and certainly there's surfers that the world title joining the WSL isn't even on their radar. They're just totally focused on the Olympics.
Again, the amount of time and resource required to follow the tour is you're not guaranteed to get a return on that, and it's just you're not even guaranteed to elevate your surfing based on that tour. Whereas I feel if you're going to be a basketball player or a soccer player or whatever, you get on that world stage tour or league and you will elevate your game because you're playing against the best players in the world.
Boy, there's money too.
Of course, money. And then, but with surfing, it's almost like if you're in your mid-20s and you really want to become the best surfer in the world, going on tour is going to limit how much improvement you can do in your surfing.
Yeah, it's funny.
It might sharpen your competition game, but you're not going to be getting the best waves in the world.
Yeah, I don't know if people sign up for competitive surfing to get the best waves in the world. Like that's just not going to happen.
They don't. That, like I said, that's a problem for the WSL.
I agree, and I think I mean I'll ask you this: is there a way that the WSL can increase the prize money so that if you are an ISA surfer, you're now like, you know what, I'm going to channel my energies towards the WSL because the payday is pretty good, even if I get equal 17th or whatever. Like I'm going to be able to make a living and continue to do. If I can get equal 17ths, I'm going to be surfing for 10 years on tour or what, you know what I mean? Like the money's there. Is there a way for the WSL to create enough revenue, sponsorship dollars, obviously, or maybe there's broadcast advertising revenue too. Who knows?
Look, they've been trying to figure that out for a very long time, and they haven't because the numbers don't support it. But I think the other thing was the WSL was able to just offer enough prize money, knowing that there's no other alternative league that they're going to be competing against.
Yeah.
So it's like, look, come get your paycheck or not. We don't have to offer $1 million prize purse because you have nowhere else to go. But what they didn't anticipate is that there's other ways to make revenue without another league. So these surfers actually can just be free surfers and earn more money. You know, Jamie O'Brien, I'm sure, is earning more money than almost anybody on tour from the tour itself.
Yeah, well, you're right. And so the question is, do they also not foresee the competitor in the ISA and the Olympics?
Right. Well, I do want to touch on the U.S. Open a little bit because it just wrapped up yesterday.
Yes, Encinitas resident Jake Marshall won the U.S. Open. Congratulations to our very own Jake Marshall. A great story. And I mean, this kid, a couple of years, 3 years ago, whatever it was like his last chance, and he came through. And ever since then, he's been a mainstay on the tour, and his surfing has just gotten incredible. I mean, it was always incredible, but he's got a really mean hack, and I know the entire community here in Encinitas is super proud of Jake, and well done.
Jake, I remember seeing Jake come through surfing Huntington Beach events from the time he was 8 years old, 10 years old. Like, he's been at it forever. And like you said, early kind of support and potential sponsors, all that sort of thing, and almost went away. And he was able to claw back. And since he's been on tour, I got to say, he's over-delivered my expectations for him.
Yeah, well, did you know this is his only WSL win ever? Like no Pro Junior, no Challenger Series wins, no QS wins.
I did not.
This is his only WSL victory, and it's a hell of a good one, a U.S. Open. Speaking of money, I don't know, how much money do you think he made?
It's a great question. It's a great question. I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, there was, in the heyday, those were $100,000 events when Brett Simpson was winning them.
When Bob Hurley was stepping up to the plate.
Exactly.
He was backing it big time. I mean, there was one event there, and I know you were there, and it was pumping, and it was huge, and it was the Hurley U.S. Open, and Bob was, I'm going to butcher this, but I want to say that he just randomly goes, we're also giving another $100,000 away. Like he just, on the day of, wrote another check that wasn't even expected. Am I getting that wrong? Isn't that true on some level?
The way I remember it was it went from 30,000 for first place to 100,000 with that type of an announcement.
Yeah.
It was like the
It
day
kind of
of.
happened right there on the beach,
Yeah.
didn't it?
Yeah, it was supposed to be a $30,000 first place prize, and he said we're going to increase it to 100K for the winner, and that was the year Brett Simpson, the first year Brett Simpson won. So are you looking up his prize?
Yeah,
First?
I'm trying to get the prize purse.
Okay. So there was a variety of conditions. The event started in really good surf, so the winners had to surf through everything from like overhead, tons of current, all the way down to the final day, which looked much more like typical Huntington that people always make fun of, which is a mushy wave breaking on the outside, and then it goes into a flat section. You got a Huntington hop to the inside shore break and hopefully do one more turn. And I will say, when the waves are like they were on the final day or two, the surfing that you're able to do in that style of waves is no different than what they were doing 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I tuned into it and I'm like, you know what? This is not to always be negative, but this is a disappointment. And Kanoa Igarashi, who's won the event 2 times previously, made it into the final. And I'm like, this is the same surfing Kanoa was doing when he won the final or when he won the event years ago. And it was the same surfing Brett Simpson was doing when he won the event. And that's not to say that they are lesser surfers. What I mean to say is that when the waves are mediocre or less than mediocre, there's only a certain amount of surfing you could do on them. And that's been executed now for over 10 years. And so we're not really seeing anything new at all.
No, you're right. You know, the Waves of the Stars and Huntington Beach is just, you know, it's a great if you're a high school surf team. It's like a high school surf team wave. You know what I mean?
And those guys surf it as good as the guys in the final surf it, to be honest. Blowtail out the back. Huntington hop, hop, hop inside, maybe do another air reverse if you get lucky. If not, you slam the end section. That's literally the combination that wins these events. And so you're
the
like,
same could be said for Bells, though. I mean, like
the surfing's improved at Bells.
I'm just saying, like, you know, like the bottom line is every wave should be a Cloudbreak or Chopu or
Now we're
a
talking.
wave of that a pipeline, and anything less than that is sort of silly.
It's just there's no energy in those waves at Huntington on finals day, so there's just nothing you can really do with it. Get Dave Parmenter out there on a longboard. That's what we want to see. But congrats to Jake, because honestly, he's unflappable. Like there was moments, and even in that final where Kanoa was putting the pressure on, Kanoa needed the score. Kanoa had priority, and Jake just held his ground. He got the scores he needs. He doesn't really make mistakes. He's super smart. Kanoa is as well, and that's how Kanoa got to the final as well. But seeing Jake's heat management from heat to heat was a reminder, you know, maybe that's the difference between a CT surfer and a CS surfer or a QS surfer.
Yeah, I guess it should also be noted, and I think as important, that Sierra Kerr won the event on the women's side, which is pretty powerful because she's somebody we want to see on the women's tour.
I was glad to see her making that run. And we maybe haven't talked about it, but she got sidelined due to illness for about the last 18 months. And so this is part of her kind of recovery and comeback. But obviously she was in the limelight for so long prior to that. And I really feel like it hit her at a bad time because it's at the time right when you're breaking through from kind of amateur to pro. So this is a big win for her.
You know, interestingly, she's sort of the sort of surfer that had sort of a free surfing revenue trajectory and sort of influencer Instagram trajectory. Like she showed up a couple of years ago with her father, and there was just incredible footage of her just getting slotted at like bank vaults and in the Mentawais, wherever it was. I forget exactly where it was, but she was getting insane. Like I just figured that's her career path was free surfer, and she's going to get the revenues that are accompanied.
She can pick her poison at this point. She is getting paid from Red Bull, and I know she has other sponsors too, but they pay a lot. So she's doing well. If she wants to compete on the CT, she can, but she could do whatever she wants. She could write her own ticket at this point.
Yeah. Well,
so congrats. Great to see it. The other thing that I would like to say is Tanner Gudauskas has been a wonderful addition to the commentary booth. I know he was in one of the CT events, El Salvador, maybe Brazil. And that was kind of the first time. I mean, I've heard him before in the past for specialty, maybe Vans events and stuff, but that was the first time I'd seen him at the CT level, and I thought he was fantastic then. And then he was at the U.S. Open, and again, he is a highlight.
I totally agree. I think he does an excellent job, exceptional job for
He
sure.
really does. Yeah, super knowledgeable. Obviously, talent-wise, like he comes from such a high level of surfing that provides insights, but he's way more articulate than I ever would have expected.
Well,
Super smart guy.
all those Gudauskas brothers are super intelligent. Their father Tom is super intelligent. I've met his mother. They just come from a super smart family.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure if they were homeschooled. I sort of doubt it. I don't know. But either way, it was whichever way they were schooled, they came out right. So it's good.
Well, I'm glad to see. I think it's a burgeoning career for him potentially if he wants it. So I'm glad to see him. I just like him a lot, and I'm glad to see this opportunity for him.
For sure.
As we're talking about CT related stuff, though, Kelly Slater also welcomed his third child, his second daughter. And so that was just announced on Instagram. And he's going to be competing next week in the Tahiti Outer Known Pro.
Yeah, August 8th is when that starts. And I haven't looked at the forecast, but that's just 5 days from now. So
yeah.
I'll try to pull it up while we're talking. But I mean, look, all eyes are on Tahiti. We're all excited about it. It's been a phenomenal year in Tahiti already. So it's just a matter of, things lining up for us here.
Well, I will, in anticipation of that, Matahi Drole just posted a new YouTube video about 12 hours ago. So I'll just play this for you while you look. But man, what a reminder of what Chohopu could
Holy
be.
crap.
This is a tow session from August, and he's been sitting on the footage. August of last year, so a year ago. But
Oh my God.
It was a tow swell, and the red camera show in slow-mo showing all of the undulations in the wave makes it look so insane.
That's amazing. Well, good news, David, because Saturday, August 8th, it's going to be 8 to 12 feet with good winds.
What?
The next day, 15 to 18 feet, but no good winds. Then Monday, 8 to 12 feet. Tuesday, 8 to 10 feet. Wednesday, 6 to 8 feet. This thing should be done in 5 days.
Sweet. By the next time we record.
It should be done. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Wednesday, August 12th is the finals day, but, don't hold me to it. But forecast, it's pretty, how forecasts are.
I do.
Could be smaller.
All right. Well, this Matahi video, by the way, if you want to check it out on YouTube, it is called Better Late Than Never. And I think that's in reference to the fact that this is year-old footage, but it is perfect timing in preparation for the event. And it is my must-see moment, presented by Treeswax. Treeswax.com, promo code SPIT. You'll save 20% and get a money-back guarantee.
Unreal. Well, thanks for Treeswax for being a part of the show, and Christian doing good stuff there. Performance-based, eco-friendly. I don't know if that's exactly the way he wants us to phrase it, but it's great surf wax.
Point is, it's petroleum-free surf wax. It's made from rocks and trees. So
there you go.
There you go. And Matahi, just absolute king of Chopu right now.
Yeah, there's kind of a couple like him, and he's been the guy for 10 years.
Well, yeah, Kaiuli Vost I would mention, and then that Emio Sersmack,
right?
Unbelievable backhand surfer there,
who I think won the trials. Emio, so he's going to be in the event.
Emio's so unreal.
Yeah. Well,
but I feel like the difference though, Matahi, I feel like never leaves. Like those guys, Kaiuli obviously on tour, and Emio I see at Pipe and stuff. Matahi's just camped out in Tahiti.
It's going to be interesting. I don't think that Kaiuli Voss has had the season on tour that he was hoping to have. And it almost feels like there's going to be some pressure as the Olympic gold medalist at his home spot. And he needs the result. I
think he's too good at his home spot to even flounder.
question. Yeah.
But I would have said that about Gabriel Medina in Brazil, but Gabriel Medina got 17 in Brazil, so it can happen to anybody.
No, but Tahiti's a different, Chopu, as you know, a different beast. And I mean, the thing about Chopu is that as much footage as we just watched and as much footage as we've seen, unless you're there in person, it's just mind-bendingly gnarly. Like it's just next level gnarly. It's just so, and you don't really get it unless you're there. I mean, we just watched some pretty incredible footage. You just put up some cool stuff, but man, when you're there, holy crap, is it gnarly.
So Kelly Slater, out of, or on retirement currently with a newborn baby, camped out on the Gold Coast for the last 2 months. How do you think he bodes in 10-foot Chopu?
It kind of depends. I think if he shows up, like tomorrow and puts in 3 or 4 or 5 days out there, he'll get his bearings pretty quick. He's Kelly Slater. If he shows up day of and it's 8 to 12 feet, that's a problem. He needs a couple, 3 sessions. I would say 3 or 4 sessions to just kind of acclimate. Okay. And then he'll be fine.
Well, fair enough, because he is showing up today.
Yeah, well, then look out.
Okay. All right.
Hey, real quick before we go, Harry Bryant is the E.A.S.T surfer, right? Electric acid surfboard test by Stab. Harry Bryant, a fitting star for this event. He's been conducting his own surfboard experiments for years, reads the press from Stab. Over 3 weeks, David, in Central and South America, and Harry Bryant tested 10 weird and wonderful boards ranging from 5.0 to 8.0 from a lineup of mostly fresh-faced shapers. So Harry Bryant E.A.S.T, the first one drops August 18th, first of 4 episodes presented by Kona Big Wave and Van. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, I heard they got really good waves, so you could look forward to good surf in that. And I'm a huge fan of Harry Bryant, and he's somebody that I don't get tired of. His personality, his surfing, all of it.
Totally agree. It's going to be a good one. I'm pretty excited. He's a communicator. He's kind of got a little bit of Aussie salty brashness, which we fully appreciate for this series. So it's going to be good. I'm looking forward.
Yeah, I expect him. I think that he's been tuned into surfboard design for a long time. His choices in boards in a given condition are very unconventional at times. Like we've seen him surfing pipe on an old Gunter Rohn 7.6 old style gun, and stuff like that, where it's like he has a respect for tradition and history, and he's not afraid to ride those style of boards. He doesn't need to be on like the newest, hippest thing always. And then he's also not afraid he doesn't pull a punch. Like I think when he's talking and communicating about these boards, if he doesn't like something, he'll say he doesn't like it and why he doesn't like it.
Yeah. And that's what we're looking for. And so, yeah, should be good. August 8th, the very first one.
Cool. Also, it's worth mentioning the Surfrider Foundation, surfrider.org, could use your help. They're only limited by their resources and the number of people involved. And so get involved. If you're a surfer, if you benefit from the ocean, which we all do, even if you're not a surfer, you benefit from the ocean. They've been fighting for ocean health for 41 years. And they do it at every level, from beach cleanups and water testing and sampling all the way to lobbying on Capitol Hill. So they could use your support in one way or the other. Physical support, financial contribution. You can do it for $5 a month. You could set it for $25 a month, whatever you want. They could use the support. So surfrider.org.
Well, very good. And tickets are selling briskly for the Boardroom Show. October 10th and 11th, you can buy tickets. Go to boardroomshow.com, click on the buy tickets link. And yeah, we've got an incredible show lined up for you. The Boardroom Show presented by U.S. Blanks.
Always a favorite weekend of mine. And I'm going to close out on a Duke of the Week. All the lifeguards around the Pacific, as there's been these massive swells, we've seen some harrowing footage. The most prominent, I think, that's gone viral was a 16-year-old lifeguard. This was his first season as a lifeguard. He just finished the training. His name's Ryder Williams. He's in Santa Cruz, and the footage that went viral was of him saving a 10-year-old boy in really, really powerful shore break. So it's harrowing to see. But again, I've seen a lot of rescues around the Pacific this season. So shout out, Dukes of the Week, all those lifeguards.
Absolutely. Good call, David. Really good call.
Those are the unsung heroes of our surfing world, Scott.
Well, look, we've
Hey,
talked.
one final
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Those New Zealanders that were on your Indonesia trip, did they know who you were? Do they listen to the podcast?
No, that
Oh, okay.
actually, because I had done a pretty deep dive podcast on the Boardroom show with Paulo, the guy who owns that surfing village.
Yeah.
They had listened to it. They were familiar with my podcast because they all listened to the Paulo episode, which apparently is, according to those guys, it's getting a lot of people who listen to it all the time. All
Good.
the guests.
Awesome. Glad to hear it.
Well, look, we've said a lot, David. We've talked, we've discussed. There's been banter. Until next time, adios and aloha.